You can now get a hybrid version of the Kia Sportage. That's it there, and I've lived with it for the past week to find out what it's like to drive, how fuel efficient it is, and if it's actually worth the extra money. I also look at the practicality, the safety, and the ownership costs. Now, if you want to read the full review, go to carsguide.com.au. Okay, let's talk about the price. Now, you can only get the hybrid version on the SX grade, which sits pretty low in the range, and the GT line grade, which is the top of the range grade. Now, the price of the SX, which is this one here, is on your screen right now. And as you can see, it's pretty high.
The petrol version, the front-wheel drive petrol SX, costs $8,400 less. So what do you get for the extra money? Nothing. Not in terms of extra features. You just get better fuel efficiency thanks to the hybrid powertrain.
And it gets about the same amount of standard features as well. Let me show you.
Coming standard on the SX Hybrid we have here are these 18-inch alloy wheels, there's LED headlights, and these very pointy LED running lights. These silver roof rails are standard as well. Inside the SX Hybrid, the seats are cloth, and the 12.3-inch media display is also standard, so is sat-nav, Apple CarPlay, and Android Auto. There's dual-zone climate control as well. That's an okay equipment list, but it's missing many of the features of the higher grades, like heated seats. But at the same time, you're paying heated seats money here, almost $46,000.
Okay, so the price of the Kia Sportage SX Hybrid, it's too much. Well, in my opinion, they're charging too much for it, especially when you consider the fact that Toyota prices its RAV4 Hybrid only a couple of grand or thereabouts more than its petrol equivalent. I know why they've had to price it higher. It's because it's got a better engine, and so that's a lot of the costs are incurred in that. But there are some things I do like about the features of the car. I love the double screens. I think that's great as well. And the interior has a very high-end feel about it. I don't like this. It's a regular key. You've actually got to put it in and turn it in ignition to start it. That's a pain, especially when you get into the car and it's in your pocket and you've got to try and fish it out again. Also, there's no proximity unlocking. You've got to press the button to actually open the car. I know it's not a massive problem. I tell you what is a bit of a problem though, and that is because this is the SX grade and it's lower in the range, you get blank panels. I'm talking about on the center console here. Now, I'm very familiar with blank panels on lower grade cars. When I was growing up, we were a family that could never afford the top spec car, so our cars were covered in blank panels to remind us that we'd bought the cheap one. But we did have a solution to that. We were allowed to stick stickers on those blank panels, and it kind of livened things up a little bit. So as you can see down here, I've done that here. This one, press that there, that turns it into a racing car. This one here, if you want an apple, you just press that, it gives you an apple. Don't press that, that's the fire engine button. Don't press that one. That's roadworks. If you encounter roadworks, you press that, clears up things. And this one here, reserve this only for special occasions. That's a helicopter. It turns it into a helicopter. Yeah. Show you under the bonnet? Yeah, let me show you under the bonnet. Come on. Okay, this is what we are here for, really, isn't it? We're here because it's a hybrid. We're here because it's got better fuel efficiency, and that's a heavy bonnet as well. So what we have here is a 1.6 litre 4-cylinder engine. It's actually the same engine which is in the higher grade. So it's a smarter, better, cleverer engine. And it is combined with an electric motor. So it's got all the power and all the torque of a 1.6 litre 4-cylinder engine, plus the power and torque which comes with an electric motor. So the output is actually quite high. What does that do to fuel economy? Let me show you.
The Sportage Hybrid is not a plug-in hybrid. The battery recharges automatically through regenerative braking. So when you press the brake pedal, the energy is converted into electricity, and that keeps the battery charged.
Okay, so I also should tell you that all hybrid Kia Sportages are front-wheel drive, and it's got a 6-speed automatic as well. Now, fuel economy. Kia says the hybrid Sportage should get 4.9 litres per 100 kilometres, which is really, really good. You can see what I actually managed to get after a week of testing. It's not quite that low, but you could probably get it. Now, compared to the regular petrol car, which gets 8.1 litres per 100, it's much more fuel efficient.
So are the fuel savings worth the $8,400 price premium over the regular petrol SX? Now, I've worked it out for you using actual mathematics. So here we go. You're saving about 3.2 litres per 100 kilometres. That's in the hybrid. Now, let's just say petrol costs $2. That works out to be $6.4 per 100 kilometres. Now, to make back the $8,400, that's 8,400 divided by 6.4, and that comes out at 1,312.5. Okay, times that by 100, and that gives you 131,250, and that is the number of kilometres, 131,000, that you've got to drive just to break even. Now, let's say you do 10,000 kilometres a year. That's 13 years. Really, the only person who's going to benefit is the person who buys the car after you, second hand. There you go.
Do you know what the tip is? The tip is the GT line, the top of the range grade, the GT line Hybrid. Now, that only costs $5,500 more than its regular petrol equivalent, GT line petrol. Make your money back faster that way. Otherwise, the only person that really benefits is the person who buys this after you. Let's go for a drive. Yeah, that is annoying. It's an actual key, and it does go in the ignition and you turn it on, but when you do turn it on, you get a little song, as you can hear, but you don't hear any engine, and that's because it's a hybrid. And handbrake off, you can just silently drive away, just on electric motors. There we go. All right, let's go for a little drive, and then you put your foot down, and the petrol engine will kick in eventually. So, what I'm going to do here is give you 3 things I really like about the way the Sportage SX Hybrid drives, and 3 things that I'm not a major fan of in terms of the way it drives on the road. Well, it's always going to be on the road, isn't it? Well, it is front-wheel drive, so don't go off-road or too far, not intentionally. Number 1 thing, it is really comfortable to drive. That's right, I've driven some pretty ordinary cars lately. I drive a lot of cars, and when you get into something like this and it's comfortable over terrible roads, you know the car manufacturer has done something right. Now look, the handling is not superb, okay? It's quite soft and it's a little bit floaty, but handling is fine. It's not a race car, but in terms of ride comfort, the Sportage SX Hybrid is up there with very, very good. Now, the number 2 thing, the second thing that I like about the way this SUV drives is its hybrid system. Now, it's not a plug-in hybrid, which means you don't have to plug it in, you charge it. It charges just when you step on the brakes. It's regenerative braking. So you step on the brakes and that recharges the battery, which is fantastic. And that hybrid system works seamlessly. It's quiet, it's efficient, and the dance that the motor does with the engine is, as I said, it's almost seamless. Occasionally, the petrol engine comes on and it's a little bit raucous, but for the most part, the way they switch from electric motor to petrol engine is wonderfully, wonderfully smooth and seamless. So there you are. And number 3, the third thing that I really like about the way the Sportage SX Hybrid drives, and that is it's easy to drive. The visibility is really good through all the windows, the steering is very light and it's accurate, and there's a good feel of your pedals under the ground as well. And that's not always the case with hybrid cars. Some hybrid cars, you step on the brakes, and because of that regenerative braking, when it recharges the battery, the pedal feel of the brake pedal feels really odd or really wooden. But the pedal feel of the brake pedal in this car feels like a normal car, and that's a good thing. So yes, it's easy to drive. 3 things I don't really like about the way this car drives, and that is, number 1, I can't get this seat to go down any lower. I am at the lowest height I can possibly get to. I can go all the way up. I can go straight through the roof if I wanted to, but I can't get any lower than this, and that's annoying. So that's the first thing I'm not a major fan of. Now, number 2, the second thing I'm not a major fan of, and that is that occasionally, because this is a front-wheel drive car and there's a lot of torque which is going to those front wheels, driving those front wheels, occasionally they lose traction. So in the wet, they'll slip a little bit, they'll lose traction, or going up a hill, they'll also lose traction if you accelerate a little bit too hard, but not overly hard, just, you know, normally hard. So yes, a loss of traction occasionally in this car is the second thing I'm not a major fan of. And the third thing I'm not a major fan of is the transmission in this car. Now, for the most part, it's fine, but there's occasions when it seems to get a little bit lost. It doesn't know whether it wants to be in a higher gear or a lower gear, and you feel like it's a little bit hesitant. That's not a major issue. Another thing, talking of transmissions, is the shifting dial down here. Now, they're a great idea, and Kia make the best ones, but, and I have to pull over just to show you this, you have to be at a complete stop in order to be able to shift into reverse or drive. And I know that makes total sense, but you flick it that way, you're in reverse, you flick it that way and you're in drive, but sometimes when you're doing a 3-point turn, you might not stop completely, and you might flick it into drive again, and then it will put it into neutral, and that's a bit annoying because sometimes you're impatient and you want to shift to drive before you've even stopped. Anyway, maybe that's just me. So that's it. Number 3, the third thing I'm not a major fan of. Now, when it comes to safety, the Kia Sportage was given the maximum 5-star ANCAP rating. That was in 2022. It comes with pretty much everything in terms of advanced safety tech. There's AEB, which works for pedestrians and cyclists and other vehicles, even works at junctions. There's lane keeping assistance, there's blind spot warning, there's rear cross traffic alert with braking. It's got the lot. It's actually really, really good, and pretty much everything that the GT line also gets in terms of safety tech. There's also front and rear parking sensors too, and if you're like me, you need them. The warranty is really good. Kia's warranty, it's a 7-year unlimited kilometre warranty. That's fantastic. It's one of the best in the business. In fact, it is pretty much the best in the business. But when it comes to servicing prices are quite expensive. Now, they're capped, which is good. That's a good thing. But over 5 years, they total to about $3,000. That's quite a lot of money. That's more than, say, you'd pay for servicing on a Toyota RAV4 Hybrid. So yeah, $3,000 over 5 years. It's getting up there.
Let's talk about the design. I don't know what the designers at Kia are eating, but their cars are looking stunning right now, and the Sportage is no exception. I love the Arrow LED running lights, the wide mesh grille, the handy cheese graters here, or whatever they are, and these tail lights. I like that it looks different from other SUVs out there. I like different. The thing is, the Hybrid doesn't look much different to a regular Sportage. They're so similar that after this shoot, I accidentally got into somebody else's petrol Sportage in the supermarket car park. I'm serious. It raises a lot of questions, but it's true. The SX might sit lower in the Sportage lineup, but it doesn't look like it from here. It looks like a premium SUV, and it is, mostly. The cabin is also differently good looking and premium, apart from those blank panels down there, the ones that remind you that you didn't get the Sportage with heated seats.
Just like the exterior of the car, the insides are very premium looking as well. I like the materials that have been used. I love the designs of these air vents and this brushed sort of aluminium. It's probably not aluminium, it's probably brushed plastic, but it looks good as well. And even like details like these door handles, they don't need to look that good, but they do. I love those little touches, but talking of touches, I don't like touching these seats. They are cheap feeling. The higher grades get artificial leather and they look much better. This fabric just doesn't do it for me at all. Let's talk practicality.
The Sportage is a mid-size SUV. It's not as big as a Kia Sorento, but it's bigger than a Kia Seltos. There's plenty of room up front with storage down here, cup holders there, and door pockets. The second row has directional air vents and great legroom and headroom, even for me at 189 centimeters tall.
All right, let me show you the boot. Now, you don't get an auto tailgate, a power tailgate on the SX. You get a manual version, which is fine. I prefer that than pressing a button and waiting for it to open and shut. Now, the boot is actually quite large. It fits all the CarsGuide luggage, as you can see there, and underneath the boot floor is it's a space saver spare wheel. It's not ideal, but that'll be fine to get you out of trouble. Now, in terms of my verdict, this is pretty easy. The Kia Sportage Hybrid SX is excellent to drive. It's really fuel efficient. It's practical. It's safe. It's just like a regular petrol SX, only it's a hybrid, and that's the problem. You see, it's not good value enough. Really, as I said before, the tip here is to get the GT line grade. Yes, it does cost more, but the difference between the GT line hybrid and the GT line petrol is only about $5,500. So there you go. There's a Sportage Hybrid now.